All right, Bears fans, let's dive straight into the big headline, because this one has been stirring up plenty of conversations in Chicago. The team has officially restructured Jalen Johnson's contract, and that simple move has completely shifted the salary cap picture for the Bears heading into this brand new season. By moving money around, the front office just freed up roughly $8 million extra of cap space. On the surface, it sounds like nothing more than financial gymnastics, but here's where things get interesting. A restructure like this not only gives the team more flexibility to make a move if needed, it also essentially locks Johnson into the roster through next year. When you push money forward, you're committing to the player for the foreseeable future, because cutting him in the near term suddenly carries a much steeper penalty. In other words, Jalen Johnson isn't going anywhere. He's already been paid as one of the core pieces of this defense. And this latest tweak just ensures that number 33 is here to stay as the top corner on the roster. So what does that mean right now for the cap sheet? Before the restructure, the Bears were barely compliant, sitting just a hair above the league minimum with around $1.5 million in wiggle room. That's basically nothing. After final roster cuts and practice squad signings, the front office had very little breathing space to deal with unexpected injuries or potential free agent opportunities. But now, after this adjustment, Chicago sits at about $9.5 million of available cap space. That's a massive difference because it gives them the power to actually sign a player who could make a meaningful impact without needing to scramble for financial room. Still, we've got to remember something important here. Teams don't spend every last cent of cap money just because it's there. The general rule is you want at least $4 to $7 million reserved as operating cash for the season. Practice squad salaries, injury replacements, emergency signings, all of that eats into the budget. So while it's tempting to dream about a splash signing, this move isn't necessarily a guarantee that Ryan Poles is about to add a big-name free agent tomorrow. What it does guarantee is flexibility. The Bears are now in a position to react instead of being handcuffed by the numbers. Now, naturally, the conversation immediately shifts to the pass rush, because let's face it, that's been the glaring issue everyone has pointed to all offseason. Names like Zadarius Smith and Jadeveon Clowney keep popping up in conversations. Both are still on the market, and both would instantly upgrade the edge rotation in Chicago. Smith has piled up nearly 25 sacks over the past 3 seasons and still brings that ability to disrupt the quarterback. Clowney, on the other hand, has been a mercenary of sorts, bouncing from team to team, but he continues to flash the ability to wreck games when motivated. The issue with both, though, goes beyond numbers. Questions about locker room fit, long-term motivation, and whether they even view Chicago as a desirable landing spot make the situation complicated. If the Bears truly wanted either guy, many believe the deal would have been done already. So, as much as fans might be begging for a move, it feels more like the front office is keeping the option open rather than actively chasing one of those names. Another angle worth noting is the development of young talent. Players like Austin Booker are part of the long-term picture, and if the Bears add a veteran starter who demands heavy snaps, that could slow down the development of a 22-year-old edge rusher they clearly want to see on the field. Booker is expected to return after a short stint on injured reserve, and his growth could be one of the keys to the defensive front this year. Bringing in someone like Smith might plug a hole, but it could also block opportunities for a young player who might be the future at the position. That's the balancing act. Win now or develop tomorrow's stars. But edge rusher isn't the only area where free agents remain tempting. In the secondary, depth is razor thin. Jalen Johnson is the unquestioned number 1, but he's also dealing with a nagging groin injury that popped up during camp. TYREEK Stevenson is penciled in as the starter opposite him, with rookie Terrell Smith lost for the season and limited depth behind them. If Johnson were to aggravate that injury, or if Stevenson struggles, the Bears could suddenly find themselves desperate for help on the outside. That's where a name like Stephon Gilmore comes in. Yes, he's past his prime, but the former Defensive Player of the Year still has enough left in the tank to serve as a reliable second corner. He might not shadow number 1 receivers anymore, but as a steady veteran presence, he could stabilize a secondary that looks dangerously thin after the top 2 guys. Signing him wouldn't make sense today with everyone healthy, but injuries change everything. That's why restructuring Johnson's deal matters. It gives Chicago the ability to pivot and bring in a player like Gilmore if the need arises without worrying about how to fit him onto the cap. Running back is another spot where depth questions linger. DeAndre Swift is expected to carry the load, but behind him, it's a mix of uncertainty. Roscoe Johnson has flash potential, yet injuries have slowed him down. Rookie Kyle Manengai is still developing and also nursing some issues. That leaves the door open for a bruiser like Gus Edwards. He's a physical, downhill runner built for short yardage situations, and while he doesn't offer much as a pass catcher or special teamer, he can provide that thumping presence between the tackles. His yards per carry dipped significantly last season, but in the right role, he could be useful insurance. It's not a flashy signing, but it's the type of move that becomes necessary if injuries pile up in the backfield. The free agent running back market isn't exactly inspiring at the moment, but Edwards remains one of the few serviceable options available. And then there's the safety position. Right now, Jaquan Brisker and Kevin Byard form a solid starting duo, but depth behind them is questionable. Should one of those two suffer a serious injury, the Bears could consider Justin Simmons, who is still waiting for the right opportunity. Simmons may not be quite the all-pro he once was, but he's still a legitimate starting safety capable of patrolling the deep middle. Word is he's waiting on a contender before committing, but if a major injury forced the Bears' hand, that's the kind of signing that could immediately stabilize the secondary. Again, not a move you make just because you have money, but one you keep in the back pocket in case disaster strikes. So, circling back to the restructure itself, what's the bigger picture? First, it signals that the Bears are committed to Jalen Johnson for the long haul. Second, it shows that Ryan Poles is planning ahead, giving himself room to maneuver during the season. This could mean flexibility at the trade deadline, where cap space is crucial for absorbing contracts. It could also mean being ready to pounce on a free agent if injuries or poor performance create a glaring hole on the roster. Essentially, Chicago has bought itself options, and in the NFL, options are priceless. All right, let's keep this rolling because there's a lot more to unpack about what this restructure means, not just for Jalen Johnson, but for the entire Chicago Bears roster and the way the front office is operating heading into the 2025 season. When we talk about a move like this, it's easy to focus only on the headline number, $8 million in space that suddenly appears on the books. But really, what this is about is how Ryan Poles and his staff are trying to build a roster that can withstand the marathon of a full NFL season. Too often we see teams start strong only to get derailed by injuries, lack of depth, or just the inability to plug holes as they pop up. What the Bears have done here is give themselves breathing room to survive those bumps in the road. And that's the type of forward thinking that separates a team stuck in neutral from one that's truly preparing to compete for something meaningful. Now, part of the conversation has to be about Jalen Johnson himself, because this guy has quickly become one of the cornerstones of the defense. By restructuring his deal, the team has essentially said loud and clear that they view him as untouchable, as one of those players you build around rather than a guy you shuffle in and out of contracts. He's a number one corner, the guy tasked with shutting down top receivers every single week, and he's earned that respect. There was a time not long ago when there were whispers about whether Chicago would commit long-term to Johnson, but those questions have been erased. He's here, he's staying, and now he's also carrying the trust of the front office to help them unlock more opportunities financially. That type of trust isn't given lightly, and it reflects not only his on-field ability, but also the way he's handled himself as a leader in the locker room. Still, as much as this restructure highlights Johnson, the ripple effects across the roster are just as fascinating. The secondary overall has promise, but also fragility. TYREEK Stevenson is still in that phase where he flashes big-time ability one snap, and then shows rookie mistakes the next. Terrell Smith's injury has left a hole in the depth chart, and the reality is the Bears are one or two setbacks away from needing reinforcements at cornerback. That's why the Stephon Gilmore talk refuses to go away. No, he's not the shutdown guy he was during his prime years in New England, but you don't need him to be that. You need him to be steady, dependable, and capable of giving you quality reps if Johnson misses time or Stevenson hits a wall. Sometimes it's not about chasing stars. It's about having professionals you can count on when the situation gets tough. That's what Gilmore represents, and with a new cap space, the Bears could actually make that type of signing without juggling contracts. And then there's the edge rush. If you've been following Chicago over the past couple of years, you know this is the position that just won't stop haunting them. They've invested draft picks, they've taken swings on veterans, and yet the pass rush remains a question mark. Adding Montez Sweat last season was a huge move and gave the line a true anchor, but one man alone doesn't make a pass rush. That's where names like Zadarius Smith and Jadeveon Clowney keep popping up. Smith brings production, Clowney brings disruption, and both bring experience. Yet both also carry baggage, whether it's questions about their fit in the locker room or concerns about consistency. For Chicago, the decision is tricky. Do you invest in a proven veteran knowing it might stunt the growth of a younger player like Austin Booker? Or do you bet on development and accept the risk that your pass rush may once again struggle? These are the questions the front office has to weigh, and that's why having flexibility matters so much. You don't have to rush into a decision. You can wait, watch how the season begins, and then strike if the need becomes undeniable. What about the offensive side of the ball? Because while defense has gotten most of the attention, there are still questions to be asked about running back depth. DeAndre Swift is explosive and can absolutely carry the load when healthy, but durability has always been the elephant in the room with him. Roscoe Johnson is physical, versatile, and a fan favorite, yet his own injury history is starting to pile up. That leaves the Bears dangerously thin, and if one of those guys goes down early in the season, suddenly you're staring at a depth chart that doesn't inspire much confidence. That's where Gus Edwards comes into play. He's not flashy, but he's a bruiser who can handle short yardage and goal line situations. He won't give you big plays, he won't wow you in the passing game, but sometimes you just need someone who can consistently churn out 3 or 4 yards up the middle. And that's valuable when you're trying to close out games or take pressure off your quarterback. The free agent market at running back isn't loaded, but Edwards remains one of the few names who could realistically step in and contribute right away. Of course, the conversation can't end without talking about Justin Simmons. The veteran safety is still sitting on the market, waiting for the right situation. For the Bears, it doesn't make sense to bring him in today because Jaquan Brisker and Kevin Byard form a solid starting duo. But football is unpredictable, and one injury could change everything. Simmons may not be quite as aggressive against the run as he once was, but his instincts and coverage are still top tier. Plugging him in as a starter for the rest of the season if disaster struck would be a luxury few teams can even dream about. Again, this is why the restructure matters. Without cap space, you don't even have the option to call his agent. Now you do, and that peace of mind is worth more than the dollar figure on the contract. Another layer to consider is the timing of all this. We're right on the edge of the season, and teams across the league are finalizing rosters, making practice squad moves, and preparing for Week 1. Usually, this isn't the moment where blockbuster signings happen. It's more about fine-tuning than major splashes. But as the season unfolds, injuries are inevitable, and the teams that handle them best are the ones who prepared ahead of time. Think about it. If a contender loses a starting pass rusher or cornerback in Week 3, they're scrambling to find someone who can fill the void. The Bears, on the other hand, have already created space to maneuver. That's forward planning, and it could make the difference between surviving adversity and collapsing under it. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers have been circulating through the corridors of the NFL world, but the latest development regarding TYREEK Hill has sent shockwaves that resonate far beyond the typical sports chatter. Sources suggest that the Chicago Bears, a franchise long criticized for its cautious approach to free agency, have finally made a move that could redefine their trajectory for years to come. The speculation surrounding Hill's potential signing had been mounting for months, fueled by rumors of front office meetings, late-night strategy sessions, and even reports of private workout sessions designed to test his compatibility with the Bears' offensive schemes. Industry insiders hint at astronomical figures, unprecedented in the franchise's history, underscoring the magnitude of this supposed deal. Conversations with unnamed scouts suggest that Hill's combination of speed, agility, and game intelligence could elevate the Bears' passing game to an entirely new level. Fans have reportedly taken to social media in droves, dissecting every piece of imagery and hint of insider knowledge, each tweet and post feeding the growing frenzy. Analysts have begun to speculate not just about the immediate on-field impact, but also about the ripple effects this signing could have on team culture, locker room dynamics, and even the broader market for elite receivers. The mere possibility of Hill donning the navy and orange has ignited debates, comparisons to historic free agent acquisitions, and an anticipation that borders on frenzy. Rumors indicate that this transaction might not just be a routine signing, but a transformative event in the Bears' history, one capable of rewriting franchise narratives and reshaping long-term strategic planning. Industry whispers suggest that Hill's contract, rumored to eclipse previous records within the organization, could set a new benchmark for how the Bears approach marquee talent moving forward. Insiders claim that front office executives have been meticulously analyzing cap space, projected revenue, and marketing potential, all converging on the notion that Hill represents not just a player, but a brand-altering asset. Conversations among sports journalists hint at a cascade effect, with rival teams closely monitoring every step, anticipating shifts in their own roster strategies and competitive outlooks. Even coaches, according to anonymous sources, are said to be recalibrating offensive schemes, exploring innovative formations that maximize Hill's explosive speed and field awareness. The chatter extends beyond the gridiron. Branding experts reportedly view Hill's potential arrival as an opportunity to revitalize merchandise sales, boost ticket revenue, and enhance national media coverage. Social media communities have become buzzing epicenters of speculation, with hashtags trending, fan polls circulating, and digital commentary intensifying the rumor mill. The fusion of on-field promise and off-field commercial potential has created a narrative that is simultaneously thrilling, nerve-wracking, and impossible to ignore for anyone following Bears developments. Inside sources hint at an almost cinematic negotiation process, painting a picture of late-night calls, cryptic texts, and clandestine meetings that stretched into the early hours, all designed to secure Hill services. The narrative suggests a combination of financial ingenuity, persuasive pitching, and strategic timing that ultimately swayed the receiver toward Chicago, though details remain shrouded in deliberate secrecy. Sports pundits are reportedly dissecting every subtle clue, from the timing of press releases to the body language of team executives during public appearances, each observation contributing to the growing legend surrounding this acquisition. Conversations in training facilities and locker rooms, according to insiders, have turned speculative, with players expressing both excitement and curiosity about integrating a talent of Hill's magnitude into existing systems. Analysts are projecting immediate changes to game day strategies, including route adjustments, target allocation, and red zone play calling, all centered on optimizing Hill's extraordinary skill set. The rumor mill even extends to coaching hierarchies, with sources claiming that offensive coordinators are exploring entirely new tactical approaches, leveraging Hill's speed to stretch defenses and create opportunities previously unattainable. The persistent buzz surrounding the story has fueled debates on sports networks, podcasts, and fan forums, where opinions clash and the anticipation grows with every passing day, creating a fevered atmosphere that suggests a historic chapter might be unfolding in Chicago's football story. Financial analysts and NFL insiders alike have reportedly been captivated by the implications of Hill's rumored signing, discussing the delicate balance between record-setting contracts and sustainable team growth. Sources suggest that the Bears management has orchestrated a plan that not only accommodates Hill's likely substantial salary, but also leaves room for future acquisitions and developmental prospects. The narrative circulating among league observers indicates that this deal, if confirmed, could serve as a blueprint for how franchises approach marquee signings, blending aggressive investment with strategic foresight. Meanwhile, sports journalists speculate that Hill's marketability could extend beyond conventional metrics, with merchandise, endorsements, and media appearances potentially generating significant revenue streams. Fan communities, according to social media analysts, have erupted in discussions, memes, and speculative threads, each iteration amplifying the perception that this is more than a simple contract. It is a cultural event within the Bears ecosystem. Coaches and front office personnel are reportedly engaged in continuous analysis, simulating various scenarios to maximize Hill's on-field production and integrate him seamlessly with current playmakers. Conversations in the rumor sphere also suggest that rival teams are reconsidering their own strategies, worried that Hill's presence could drastically alter competitive dynamics within the division. The combined weight of performance potential, financial implications, and fan excitement has transformed what might have been a routine signing into a subject of endless speculation and fervent anticipation across multiple layers of the football world. Ultimately, the ongoing murmurs surrounding TYREEK Hill's potential arrival in Chicago appear to signal a turning point for the Bears, one that could redefine expectations for both the team and the league's perception of strategic free agency. Industry insiders convey a sense of cautious optimism, noting that while details remain unconfirmed, the very structure of the rumored deal suggests a level of ambition and foresight rarely seen in recent franchise history. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.